Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a great Tuesday morning. Got some good coffee here. Got my day rolling along. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. And I'm responding and offering some thoughts in response to some viewers who have asked, well, what about life after death? If the Lord came in AD 70, if that was the, quote, end of the age, unquote, then where are we today? Wouldn't that mean that if the Lord came in AD 70 and we're still here, wouldn't that mean that there is no life after death, that we don't really have heaven as the goal? Well, I would like to suggest to you that that idea stems from a misconception of what biblical eschatology is all about. Now, I fully understand and appreciate the fact that most people were raised, as I was, with the view that the coming of the Lord is the end of time. It is a situation in which human experience ceases to exist. There is no more historical life for us, that our entire existence is on is in a totally different dimension. And again, I think that's a major misconception. It's certainly the misconception that I had as a young man growing up. So the question about what about life after death? Is heaven still a reality for the believer? Or are we, as the old cliche goes, when we die, we're just like Rover, we're dead all over? Well, there are certainly a lot of people who seem to believe that, and they make that false accusation against the preterist view of eschatology. Sometimes I think accusations like that are thrown around just to poison the well against those who would be possibly looking at the preterist view. But the point of fact is that as a result of Christ's finished work, as a result of his parousia, heaven is now a full reality, not just a hope for out there someday, one day, by and by, some pie in the sky dream. Heaven is a reality for the believer in Christ. Now, I have developed the concepts that I'm sharing with you in my book, We Shall Meet Him in the Air, The Wedding of the King of Kings. And this is one of the most extensive discussions of life after death, not only from the preterist perspective, but in answering some of the objections to the preterist view. The segment in this book is quite lengthy, and it covers a wide array of topics, issues, and what have you. And for my viewers here on YouTube, if you go to my website, it's www.eschatology.org or www.bibleprophecy.com. Order We Shall Meet Him in the Air, The Wedding of the King of Kings, and be sure to include a note that says, I saw this on YouTube, or just simply put YouTube in the note, and I will refund the shipping. That will save you $5. Now then, what about heaven? What about life after death? Well, one of my favorite studies in regard to this topic is Abraham. Jesus said, Abraham longed to see my day, and he saw it, and he was glad. Now let me ask you, if Abraham is nothing but dust, now I understand his biological body has been absorbed into the dust century upon century and millennia ago, but that's not the issue. So the question is, if Abraham, once he died, was going to be nothing but dust, if that's all there is to mankind, to live on earth, to die, and to return to the dust, why in the world would Abraham desire to see Jesus' day? It wasn't going to change his status. It wasn't going to change his standing. Wasn't going to change anything whatsoever about him or for him. He was still dust. So the question has to be asked, what in the world did Abraham long, earnestly desire to see Jesus' day. You know, I've heard some people say, well, you see, what it would mean, it would make our memories of the dead greater, and they would live in our memories. They would be alive in our memories. Well, so what? That's not living. We may use euphemisms to talk that way. But when we're talking about Abraham, who had an earnest desire to see Jesus' day. Now watch this. In Hebrews chapter 11, verses 13 to 16, it says, Abraham had a hope that was not based on this world. Abraham looked for a city which has foundations, a city that God built, and a heavenly country. He looked for the better resurrection. That's verse 35. Now once again ask yourself this question. Here is Abraham, that the writer is very clear in saying that if Abraham would have had earthly inheritance within this scope of the world, beyond his physical life, then he would have had an opportunity to have just simply stayed where he was, if this world is all there is. But Abraham looked to that heavenly city, the heavenly country, and the resurrection that he knew was far off. He knew was not for his earthly existence, that he knew he was not going to receive while he was biologically alive. Isn't that incredible? Now, the writer of Hebrews is very emphatic that what Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and all of those Old Testament worthies looked for, they never received. But he said they were on the verge of receiving it when he wrote Hebrews. Now, wait a minute. Once again, if man, when we die, we're nothing but dust and will always be nothing but dust. If there's nothing that transcends dust, what's the big deal for looking far off to a city whose builder and maker is God, a city that has foundation? There's no city beyond dust if there is nothing beyond physical life. You see, it becomes really quite silly to talk about Abraham's faith and Abraham's hope if there is nothing beyond physical death, because Abraham never received it while he was here. He never received what he was looking for while he was on earth. Therefore, if the earthly existence is all there is, even for the most righteous person, there was nothing for Abraham to look forward to that was far off. There was nothing for Abraham to look forward to that was heavenly and spiritual. Nothing. He's still dust and will always be dust. Well, biologically speaking, that's the fate of all men anyway. But Abraham looks for something that transcended dust. He looked for something heavenly, something spiritual, something eternal. Abraham is a great study and definitive proof that there is life after death. I've got a whole lot more about Abraham in this book that I'm offering. Don't forget, go to my website, www.eschatology.org, www.bibleprophecy.com. Order the book. Let me know you saw the offer on YouTube, and I'll refund your shipping. In the meantime, hope you have an absolutely fantastic Tuesday. Bon café. Have a great day.